You just tuned in to Up for Discussion.
All right.
Are we a go for launch?
We're trying here.
We are having a good time.
Yes.
You left the West. Oh, we got sound.
Yeah, we're good.
Praise the
Good
Lord.
to go. The
For
plane
he is
in
good
the
and
air.
his mercy endureth forever. For whatever reason, we do have the not up for discussion in behind there. As you deal with that, thank you everybody for tuning in. We're so grateful. We love you all. Make sure we want to get this out of the way. We're sponsored by Icon Foam and Gutter.
Yep.
Gutter.
They are second to none.
If you got water running in places you don't want water running, call Icon Foam and Gutter. They'll fix your gutters, put new gutters in. If you're hot or if you're cold, the insulation side of the business will help you there. Give them a call. I don't have the number right in front of me.
I can rattle that one off. That would be 618-926-1481.
81.
That was a good year.
Yeah.
81.
So 80 was even better.
Yeah. For you.
That's when I was born. But Icon Foam and Gutter. Also Ultra Products.
Yeah.
So grateful for this place. I hope you are too. If you need anything done on your bow, crossbow, all that stuff to do with archery, equipment, accessories, arrows, broadheads, everything there ever was for archery. We know it. We love it. We can do it. And come see us. That being said, make sure you like it.
Yeah.
Share it. Give us a thumbs up. Get in the comments and ask questions as we go. And what else? Subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, click and subscribe. Yeah, ring the bell.
Don't cost you a thing.
No.
Had someone tell us that, they couldn't get people to subscribe to their YouTube channel because generally if you subscribe to something, it costs something. It just means click the button and it means you'll get notified. Click the bell, you'll get a notification and you'll just know. You'll be in the know.
Yeah, you'll be in the loop
when we go live. So Wes is on vacation. We hope he tunes in, maybe comments or something.
Oh, yeah.
But
God bless Wes.
Yeah, God bless the USA and Wes Hutchcraft.
No doubt. Couldn't do it without him.
Yeah, so he's enjoying. So I was getting ready to say, since he left, we decided, as you can tell, to totally change the
everything,
the podcast room.
In like 5
Rewire,
minutes.
remove, hang, reposition the table. We figured since the guy that knows the most about all the technology is gone, let's really throw a wrench at it.
This would be the time.
No.
To twist it up.
We didn't change it that much. We just changed camera angles more than anything. And what we're doing, what did we end up titling it?
Tall Tales.
Tall Tales. So this is just the thought I had this week when Wes said he was going to be gone. I began to think about, because we didn't have any particular guests lined up, I began to think about what could we do. And I called you and said, bring one of your deer heads and I'm going to get one of mine.
Yeah.
And we're just going to have campfire.
Good storytelling.
One of the greatest things about deer camp, deer hunting families, a long day or a night after a long day of deer hunting, what happens?
Sit around and tell stories.
Tell the story.
Yeah.
My Uncle Brad, I don't know if he'll ever watch this. I wish he did, but he used to take a bunch of us young people, his nephews and his sons. He took us all hunting.
Yeah.
We'd get up at 4:00 in the morning. He would walk every one of us to a deer stand.
Oh, that's a good man.
And many times not even have a deer stand, just go sit on a log somewhere. And we were archery hunting, so that's tough hunting.
Yeah.
And he would, he said he did it all for the sheer joy. He used to tell me this. He said, when I picked you guys up from your deer stands and we got back to the pickup, he'd take us out for biscuits and gravy or something at the coffee shop when we get out of the morning, He said, I did all that because I loved to hear you guys' stories when you came back in. So that's what we're doing this evening. We're going to tell a story. Everybody that's hunted very long has a good hunting story.
Oh, yeah.
And my Uncle Brad said, I knowed as you guys were boys, most of them weren't true.
Well, might have been embellished a little.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They started with a thread, of truth.
Wove it into a large rope.
And after you sat in a deer stand for 2 hours and then a ride back to town to order your biscuits and gravy, it turned into, he was the biggest buck in the bottoms. He was trying to climb the tree to get in the tree with me. I had to shoot at him just to keep him off. And the only reason I missed him is because, he was so wired, some crazy thing.
He was so alert. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're little, man, they are big.
Yeah, they all look big when you're a sixth grader.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that was kind of the inspiration for tonight. And of course, we can't tell every deer hunting story we've ever accumulated.
Take days, weeks.
And as you begin to talk, we're going to think of more. No doubt, we're going to think of some stories that are cool and things that's happened that are unique. Misses. You were telling me before this, some of our misses. The one that got away.
Oh, them are burned into my
Some
brain.
of those are as memorable or more so than the ones that you got. So anyway, it's Tall Tales tonight, talking about our deer hunting adventures.
Yes.
And we're gonna kind of zone in, switch that camera angle to the main camera there so you can see both these guys from the front.
Check those studs.
We're gonna talk. We're gonna center our stories around these, and who knows, because I know you.
Yeah.
I know me.
Yes.
I've been with me now for 44 years, so I know me best. But I know that we'll probably head down some rabbit trails, but we're going to try to really center on these. This one behind me is my personal, for lack of better terms, it's the biggest one I've ever killed.
Yeah.
I don't want to say personal best because it may not be my best story.
Sure.
But it is the best deer if you're into scoring them. I don't even know what it scores. I don't care if people score it. I have an idea. Some guys have taped around on it. He's looking at the 200-inch mark.
Many
gross,
inches. Yeah, he's very large.
He's a special deer in the sense of what he is and large and all that stuff. So I'll probably center my story mostly around him, and we'll take off down some rabbit trails and then tell us about wide guy here. I don't know. Does he have a name?
Yeah, this is Bernie.
Bernie. Was it Weekend with Bernie or Weekend at Bernie's or how?
This is old Bernie here. No, he got his name honest.
Yeah. Man, he's got some. The cameras sometimes don't do him justice, but
this one looks like here.
I'm looking here from the side. Maybe that camera angle. Yeah. Just this main right beam is long.
He is big time, dude. He is.
Look at the gap between the 3 and the 4. There's 8 inches between those points. He had room to add on in there.
Yeah, he is a big one. He is. He is almost Booner. He is. I taped him off probably about 167.
So he's very, very typical-ish too.
Very typical. Yeah, well defined.
Yeah,
nice.
Got a few around his brow tines, but anyhow, so it is story night. We turned the lights down a little bit lower.
Campfire out here in front of us. They're crackling.
I wish we did. We're trying to get that campfire feeling. We turned the lights and I did my best. Me and almost said Wes, Josh and I working overtime these last 5 minutes to get these deer heads hung and the lighting to look right. I tried to get it kind of spotlighted on them because we would rather you look at them than our ugly mugs. So how do you want to start? Let's start this way, and this is totally off the cuff here.
All right.
Before we talk about these deer, what is your most memorable or best story with your bow? And it don't have to be a buck, probably a doe. Let's go doe. Like your most memorable doe with a bow, and I can lead off and give you time to think. Mine is no doubt my first deer with a bow
was a doe,
and that's my most memorable doe. You talked about being etched in your mind.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I remember the finite details of setting in. It was a pallet in a tree that my neighbor had put up there. And I hunted my neighbor's property, and all they did was gun hunt.
Yeah.
And he was like, you could set in any of those stands. And I didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
I just know I wanted to be out there hunting deer with my bow. I couldn't wait to see one. I wanted to shoot one so bad. So I had a bad habit in those days of setting about 20 to 30 minutes in a stand and moving to another one.
Yeah, that's a bad habit.
That's a bad habit, but I was a sixth grader.
Sure. So 30 minutes, you were like,
and
I'm
I had my dad gun hunted, but did not bow hunt.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bow hunt so bad. And they got me a bow and I got started. And I really kind of just got started on my own. You know, I mean, my Uncle Brad, I mentioned him, Brad Oval, he helped me immensely and took me. And when they took me, I sat in my stand because you know what he told me?
Yeah, don't
He
get
said,
up.
"You don't get out of this stand. You boys stay in your stands until I come back by and get you."
Yeah.
So there was times I wanted to, but I was like, I can't. He told me. But when I was on my own, I used to walk a mile to a place to hunt, or I would have my mom or dad just drop me off. Didn't have a 4-wheeler or
Yeah,
3-wheeler
just
at the
walk
time.
in.
They
Yeah.
would just drop me off. My hunting spot was, a mile and a half, 2 miles from the driveway, and they would drive me around or kick me out and just leave me, man.
Yeah,
We didn't have Life 360. We didn't have cell phones.
Different time.
Man, just kick me out in the brush. I'd go down there. But anyway, back to my story. I had a bad habit of it. Because I just a kid, just out there, nobody with me, sixth grader, had a bear whitetail legend 2. Where's the feedback coming from?
It may be this phone over here.
Yeah, we turned it down just a little bit. But had a bear whitetail legend 2. That's better. It was coming through on my ears, I guess. Had a bear whitetail legend 2 bow. Was not a youth bow. My dad handed it to me on my birthday in May the 11th. If anybody wants to know my birthday,
it's a good day.
Born on Mother's Day. But handed me that bow and I couldn't pull it. And he said, "Well, guess you got till October, to figure out how to pull that thing." And I figured out how to do it. I'm sure I was overdrawing. I'm sure it didn't fit me. I'm sure I was pulling too much weight. I was shooting fingers.
Oh wow.
I didn't start with a release. I did have some old brass pins, but I didn't really know how to use them. No kisser button, no peep sight. Just look past the string.
Down the string. Yeah.
And send it. And hope
that's how you do it.
Seriously hoping it stuck back then. But they kicked me out and I had a bad habit of moving, like I said, and I had set in one stand. And I remember getting so confused about the wind. Because I'm just a sixth grader. I've never done this. Know. And my uncle would always be like, "Man, you got to pay attention to wind. You got to pay attention to wind. You got to, you make sure the wind's in your face." And I remember sitting in my stand thinking, I don't think the wind's right. So I was kind of trying to do right.
Yeah, you're trying to figure it out.
But it wasn't right. Because even if the wind was wrong, I walked right through some of the heart of and it's getting close to evening.
They're already up.
Yeah, I got up, somehow didn't jump them. I walk about 120 to 50 yards across the woods and got in that pallet stand on the other side. And I sat there. I was probably there 15 minutes and hadn't seen nothing. And it was big enough that I was laying down with my head against the tree.
Yeah.
And I saw that. You know how you see that out of the corner of your eye when they pop their tail when they're feeding along?
Yeah, they'll start to move around a little bit.
Not spook, but pop their tail. And I turned to my right, and there was 3 does not 20 yards from me. And I was like, I am laying down in this pallet that's about 12 foot up in the tree. Somehow, this is I remember it like it's yesterday. Somehow I got stood up, got my bow hanging on the tree limb. They circled me. They knew something was up.
Yeah.
Looking right at me. Somehow I got my bow drawed, and I let that old aluminum baseball bat of an arrow with a satellite 4-blade.
Yep.
No 3-blade. A satellite 3-blade. Literally had razor blades for blades. I mean, you could take them out and they would flex.
Super thin. Yeah.
And let that old. It was probably an off-kicker brand of aluminum arrow that I got somewhere, and 5-inch fletchings.
Yeah,
back in the day, we shot 5-inch vanes, big off a flipper rest.
Yeah,
that just stuck to the riser.
It teaches you how to draw a bow
with fingers, and hit that doe just a skosh back, but back of the lungs.
Yeah,
shot her. She runs off. I knew enough that my uncle said if you shot one, make sure you don't go right after it. You got to give it time.
Yeah.
If you ever jump them, they get hard to find. So I remember that. I jumped down, found my arrow. I'm down in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Found my arrow, seen some blood out there on the leaves. I thought I've hit her good. I stuck my arrow where I saw the blood, and I ran to Bert Simpson's house. That was my neighbor, almost like my dad's adopted dad. He had the ground I was hunting on. Ran up there because there's no cell phones. So about a 300-yard run. Just ran it. Wish I could run it like that now. But ran it all the way up there. Get there. Get on the phone to call my dad. And my dad, my mom picks up, says, Dad's not home. And I was like, I got a deer. I got a deer. I shot a deer. I got a deer. And she's like, oh, well, good. I was like, so Bert says, well, let's go get it. He says, did you see it? Or have you touched it? Did you know it's dead? I was like, oh, no, I just left it. And so they were all the adults were like,
a little skeptic. Yeah.
How old are you in the 6th grade? Are you 12?
Oh, man, yeah.
11 or 12? So I'm 11 or 12-year-old just juicing jacked, excited.
Yeah.
And
today I'm a man.
Yeah. I crossed over. I crossed over today.
First blood.
Yeah. And Bert just, hindsight of the story, he didn't think I got it.
Sure.
Here's this 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy out there with a bow that's the size of him. He got a deer. He's like, well, he hadn't seen it yet. Yeah. He goes, well, let's get the little Ford tractor, the Ford 8N or whatever it is, and I'll got the trailer on it and we'll drive. He had a little grassy road that went way back there. He said, we'll drive back there and see if we can find her. Well, as we're loading the tractor, Dad pulls in. He had pulled in right after Mom.
Yeah.
Got off the phone with me, and he jumped back in and come around there. And I'm in the wagon. They tell me this whole story later. I'm back in the wagon, so I can't hear it. And Dad's sitting on the fender of the tractor, and Bert's driving a little Ford tractor back there. And Bert's all the time. They're talking. And my neighbor Bert, love him so much. He's with Jesus now, but he was such an awesome guy. But he was telling Dad, he's like, now, George, when we get back there and he ain't got this deer, he said, let's just encourage him. Just pat him on the back and give him some encouragement. Tell him to hang in there, and just keep doing your best. Eventually, one day, you'll get one.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that was going on. Yeah. They're telling that. So we get back there. They park the tractor. I run.
They didn't have a lot of faith in you.
not at this point. Not at this point. A few years later, if I come to the house now and I said I killed a deer, my dad's like, where's he laying? He knows they're dead. But even a few years after that, I got it down pat. But they were talking how they were going to encourage me when we didn't find it. Kind of, cater to me and go look. And they just assumed I didn't even hit it.
Sure.
I think. But we get back there, we walk up there, and there's my arrow. It's bent a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got a pass through on her. Had it stuck at the first blood. My dad looked at it. I remember now Dad going, well, you hit her. I said, well, I've been telling you hit her, So we took off, just blood everywhere.
Yeah,
she did go
shot.
75, 80 yards. And there she was. And my dad was probably more excited than me. My dad was jumping out there in the brush. He got it. I can't believe he got that.
Yeah.
So that's my most memorable doe.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good story.
You got one. Did all that time, did you come up with one?
Yeah, I got
or
one.
did I captivate you?
No, you did. You captivate me. You're very captivating.
Well, thank you.
You are. Yes, I have many does that have been slain.
Many does. I have too.
Many does.
That would be my first one. I don't know if that's cliche because it's my first one, but my first one was
a little buck.
Really?
Yeah, it's not a doe, so I can't.
All right. So,
but it was a good story.
But if your first one's it,
well, just tell my first deer because that was your first deer.
Tell your first deer. Let's switch it to our first deer. First deer with the bow.
Yeah, first deer with the bow.
Did you kill a deer with a gun first or with a bow first?
I had shot one with a gun before.
Okay, my first kill ever. I got one up on
pretty legendary.
Is a yeah,
pretty good
with an archery bow.
But yeah, I had a good friend of mine, Billy Boy Ellis. Big shout out there, Billy Boy.
Billy Boy.
Oh, Billy was cool. He was one of those like your uncle, man. He would be like, hey, he'd see us boys hanging around the bow shop or hanging around. He'd be like, hey, you want to go hunting?
Yeah,
he'd take you.
Aren't you thankful for those guys?
Oh, good guy, man.
They
super good guy.
Those guys changed our lives, whether we realize it.
Billy Ellis, man. If you're listening, he's a good guy. Oh, man, he's a good guy. And he was a big buck hunter. I mean, he killed big deer. He'd be like, I mean, he'd tell you the whole time I was doing this and doing that. I mean, he'd get on him in the rut, man. He could, and he hunted on the ground.
Right.
Billy was a hunter, or he is. I'd say to this day, still. I don't think you're ever washed up when
No,
you're a hunter.
If it gets where you can't physically go, you're in your dreams and in your heart. You're out there like shooting them in your imagination.
He's killed big deer, consistently. But anyway, yeah. So Billy, he's like, "Hey, Josh, you want to go?" I'm 13 years old. I've done a little gun hunting before, but I have first one with the bow. I went out several times.
Right.
Unfortunately, never even really got a good shot on one. And had seen him from a distance. Had got close, just never been able to draw back. Had a big buck on me one time. Couldn't do nothing with him. I just sat there and shook and watched him walk by. That was good. But anyway, yeah, I was had a little cover center with me. We stopped. There used to be a place up in north of Olney called Deer Country, just north of Olney on 130. It's all closed down now, but it's super cool. They used to sell all these. I think they used to make them. Little like cover scents and stuff like that.
Was it a shop?
Like it was a bow shop. Yeah, it was an archery shop. Sweet. Yep. Deer Country.
Shout out to all the shops.
Back in the day. Yeah, man, years. Absolutely. And good guys up there.
Get out and support your local shops.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Go ahead, though.
But no, for real, big shout out to Deer Country. And I bought some doe and heat and some honeysuckle cover scent, which was cool, But I remember a little bitty pump bottle, and I was sitting there and I'd spray that a couple times and nothing. 30 minutes later, pump it again, nothing. A few more pumps. All of a sudden I see something. And it's this just little bitty basket rack come rolling in there, a little 6-pointer, maybe 8. He might have been 8 there. He was, decent 2-year-old.
Right.
Giant 2-year-old, At that time, I was like, oh my gosh, it's got antlers on it. It's a buck. And he came in on me, turned around, walked away again. I pumped it again. He caught wind of it again, come back in.
Was he coming to the honeysuckle?
No, he was coming to this doe and heat.
To the doe.
Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. But I'm 13 years old, so I'm up there like, I'm like giving it all I got. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm just like, it's just this fine mist of doe and heat and honeysuckle. Everyone's pumping the whole bottle out.
That doe's wearing honeysuckle perfume, right?
Well, and that's the thing. He was such a young deer. He was probably just so curious. He was like, "What curiosity is this?" Thing. Yeah. Curiosity killed him. And so he finally comes in, and I spray a few times. And man, he walks in, and I'll be honest, for being 13 years old, he come out and he was about, I'd say 35, maybe 40 yards.
That's poke.
Broadside. Yeah.
Back in that day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was like an XI legend. And
that's awesome.
XI legend.
I wanted one.
Yeah. Quickie quiver. I had my overdraw on there, man. I'm telling you. We were hooked up, man. We were around some good archers and archery shops. Big shout out to my cousin, Ryan Spohr. That's who really got me going. I met my Uncle Kenny and Uncle Danny. They were big deer hunters.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. And that's what my uncle, he always told me, because I'd hit big deer all the time. And I was like, man, where'd you kill those at? And he goes, you kill big deer where you kill big deer.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, there was some wisdom with that. Later on, now I see it was like he'd find these little pinches.
Yeah.
And he would kill the same deer.
I mean, as backwards or redundant as that sounds, a deer hunter knows that you kill big deer where you kill big deer.
You kill them in the same spot almost.
There are certain places that are better to take a good deer. Now, you can kill a big deer anywhere at the right time.
Yeah. Catching them slipping through consistently.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He figured it out. And I'll be honest, that stuck with me. And that's when I started noticing, I putting time in the woods and seeing deer. And I started seeing big deer. And I was like, oh, and I would just follow up on them, and I finally started.
So you're spraying honeysuckle and doe and heat.
Yeah, I'm spraying honeysuckle and doe and heat until I'm like out of it. Yeah, we're just, this fine mist, and finally comes in 35 yards or so. And it's just like he just turned broadside and just stood there, and I let her rip, man. Let her rip. Had the old Thunderhead 125.
125 Thunderhead.
Yeah. Busted him and didn't know it. And so when it was over, when it was all said and done, I looked, but when I pulled my quiver out, or when I pulled my arrow out of my quiver, one of those blades of that Thunderhead stuck in that rubber inside that quickie quiver.
That was a Thunderhead flaw.
For sure.
Now we would know, hey, we need to put a drip of something on those threads.
So they wouldn't back out.
Yeah, because if they backed off, the blades fell off.
They fell off, yeah. So one
But
did.
I don't know what year that would have been, but I think the Thunderhead
killed lots of deer, man.
But I think the design has not changed.
No, it's the same thing. It's
the same thing for the last 30 years.
Everything
probably.
You guys got hanging out there is based on everything fixed anyway is about the same.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, the Thunderhead itself, if you could go find a 1990 Thunderhead and a 2024 Thunderhead, it's
exactly the same. Yeah. And they work.
Right.
They work. And so anyway, I bust this deer, man. Dude, poke on him, and of course that old bow I was shooting, it was just like the cast on it. It was like you watched it float up to there, you know what I mean? It happened pretty fast, you know what I mean? And it was I hit him and he just goes on a death run. I didn't know it. So with 2 blades, I cut the tip of his heart and he went on a death run. And he runs out, and I know Billy told me, man, he goes, if you shoot one, just sit here, Josh, when it gets dark, get down, come get me. He's like, we'll meet at the truck, and if you got one, we'll go find it. He goes, but don't get down. And I was like, okay, Billy. And so I sat there.
All right, Billy.
Yeah. So I'm just sitting there the whole time, and I'm pumped, because I shot this thing. Oh, it was early season. It was like 4:30 when I shot it. I'm still sitting there 2 hours in the stand.
Oh, that's tough.
Oh man, I'm just like,
how old was you think?
13.
13.
Oh yeah, 13 years old. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was like
just about your insides freaking out.
The outside. Yeah, I was like, oh man, I got to get down, and I got down and I just walked. I didn't even go look for blood or nothing. I just, what Billy told me to do, I walked back to the truck, and about 50 yards before I get to the truck, he's standing there, and I go, Billy, I shot a big one. You know what I mean?
Wes can...
he can attest to that.
Yeah, his first deer was a big one, and it was the racks out here. Have you seen it?
No,
I'll show it to you after the podcast.
Same thing, Wes. Yeah. We know, man. We know, dude. It's
it just shows you what happens out there to your emotions.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there for 2 hours the whole time, and I'm running. I'm like, oh my gosh, shot up.
So you didn't see him go down?
No, but I seen him. I knew I hit him because I watched him. He kicked hard, spun, and just put his head down and blasted. I was like, I got him. You hear there's a sound you make when you shoot a deer. It's a poop when you hit their body, and it made that sound. And which I didn't know. Now I know for sure. You could almost tell where you hit them by hearing that sound now.
Yeah. It's a distinctive.
You're like, got him.
It's hit. And it's not that crack. There's some sounds that you're like, I don't like how that sounded.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know if I like how that sounded.
And so anyway, there's Billy. He's standing on the fence row. And I'm like, Billy, man, I just shot a big old buck. He's like, did you, Bubby? I'm like, yeah, man. He goes, I go, hey, I go, all right, man, let's go look for it. He goes, oh, we don't have to. I go, what do you mean? He goes, oh, Josh. He's like, that thing's laying like 20 feet from the truck.
Send it to the truck. That's awesome.
What I did. Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, no way. He goes, oh, yeah, good job. He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He runs up, gives me a big hug, and takes me over there, man. And he gets me up there and he lets me go and lets me walk up to my first deer, with a buck.
Ain't that what it's about?
Oh, it was awesome.
That's what it's about.
Such a good guy, man.
That's what it's about. I hope anybody listening can be happy for a guy that shoots a little feller.
Yeah.
Especially, just no matter. First, second, third, fifth deer, whatever.
It don't
just
matter.
Be happy.
And if you got a chance, man, if you got nephews or you got friends or you see some guys that, if you're a mentor and you see some boys that are coming up, man, you got the opportunity to take them hunting, man. And
tell them to
teach them
to send it.
Yeah, take that shot, man.
On a deer. Don't worry about what it is.
Yeah, don't. I'm not getting. I mean, listen.
Yeah, that's a rant that we don't want to.
Yeah, I don't want to get in it, but it's like, man, let them kill their deer. Let them kill their deer and let them develop their skills.
Because that deer that you're talking about, your first one with the bow.
Oh, he could have been one of these one day.
You may. Well, who cares about that?
It didn't matter.
You may never. You'll never totally go through that type of emotion
ever again.
Because once you get one down, it's still emotional. It's still exciting. My lands, I'm 30 years in, and it still rips my heart up. When I know that, hey, I'm gonna take a shot here, and even if it's a doe, if I make my decision that I want to take this deer, my emotions ramp up.
Oh, you got to start to now. I've done this so much, and I've begun to really hone my skill. That as a hunter before, man, my heart would pound and it would overtake me.
Oh yeah.
You'd get buck fever. Now, I don't always,
Man, I'd get buck fever and doe pneumonia.
Well, now I can hold it together. I can lock in, man, and I can execute. But then when I get on the ground, it's the same thing. I'm like, you can ask Keith. This deer I killed this year, he was standing there with me when he's like, "Did you not see it?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm waiting on you." We walked up there, man. I was doing a cartwheel and jumped up and high-fived him, and I had the old shakes. I was like, "Oh,
that's awesome."
Yeah.
Wes asking a question.
Oh, what you got, Wes?
He said, "How many Pope and Young deer do each of you have?" Interested to know.
Pope and Young. One. No, one.
Well,
two.
I mean, technically that deer's Pope and Young.
Yeah, he's Pope and Young. He's not.
So you're talking everything Pope and Young and up, I guess.
I have. So what is Pope? It's 120.
Is it 125 or 120?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something like that.
Somebody in the comments look it up and tell us. I don't even know.
Probably have.
I want to say it's either 120 or 125.
I'd say I have probably 9. I don't have a booner. I don't. I mean, man, we could go to this. This is the rabbit trail there. We haven't even talked about these, so we just can't go there. But.
Yeah, we're going to circle around to these, but gosh, Wes, I don't know. Wes has been there with a lot of mine.
He was a giant. I bet he was. He was a giant. He was. I know, man.
Remind me. I'll show you. I know right where he's at. He's in this shop. Oh,
Wes. What a good guy. I had to shake so bad on my buck last year, the tree was shaking. I shake when I get down.
125, 125.
125.
So anything 125, and of course, I haven't scored many or virtually any to speak of.
Well, you can kind of start eyeballing them after
been
a while.
Real legit, but I know what a 125-ish deer is, and I'm going to say at least 12.
Yeah,
somewhere between 12 and 20.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm
think
not,
of a 125-inch 8-pointer. That's a solid.
It's a nice deer.
It's a solid dude there. That's a good.
Nice
that's
deer.
a good.
I mean,
deer.
These deer behind us,
these are big, man.
You can say what you want to say. These deer don't pop out behind the brush
all the time.
Not, you like this guy here. Good lands I hunt. I don't. I think I've probably seen some deer. I'm not going to say that would score like him.
Yeah, but would be comparable to him.
But you could say it was in the same ballpark, and
that's as big as they get.
I don't know that I've ever seen one like him from the stand. It's either been crossing the road in front of me or something like that.
I had one that I can't say it was exactly the same, but I mean I'm talking one that was very similar to that dude at probably 8 yards and shot right underneath him. And
Wes says I got more than 12. Well, I mean, I know I'm going to say, I said between 12 and 20.
It's loose. That's a loose number there.
Because there's probably some that are literally just 120 to 125 that are, you would almost have to throw them out of the pot. But then there's quite a few that are.
That's what I cut my teeth on. I cut my teeth on them coming up.
There's a 165 out here and like a 155 out here.
Oh, I'd like to go get that 165 and lay him here on the table. I got a nice one out there too.
Is that
That's what he is. Yeah.
But did you kill that deer?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a nice
that's why I brought him in here.
No kidding.
Yeah, but I didn't bring you in here. I brought him here, but I didn't bring him in.
Well, I'll go get him here in a minute. Yeah, where's he at out there?
He's just sitting out on the target or on the gun.
We forgot. We got so busy. We forgot about him.
It was hectic. We were wiping the sweat off our brow.
I'm still sweating down my back. Good
under pressure.
So much moisture back there. I may have to call Icon Foam and Gutter and get a gutter system. Get a gutter system put in. Channel some of this water and moisture.
Oh man, this is a good time.
Yeah. So this is story hour.
Yeah, tall tales.
Tall tales. Yeah. And these two tall tales behind us.
Yeah, we even got.
They're not just a tale no more. They're a reality.
Yeah.
We've got some tall tales. So tell me a little bit about. Don't tell me the story, but you've taped him.
Yeah, I just roughed him up. You know, it was green score.
Yeah, so you got a good idea. And he's a deer that.
Oh, I know.
He's a deer that you can tape and get.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Some deer you get taping on them, they got trash and stuff. There's a lot of room for debate there and stuff. But this deer's a pretty good deer.
He's pretty easy. Yeah, he's, I roughed him, man. He went green probably was 167, and that was.
Oh, that's a good buck, man.
Somebody might be able to stretch that tape.
And on that left, the tip of the main beam, he's missing.
There's probably 3 inches.
2 to 3 inches. It's hard to see in the video.
So what's a booner? What is it? Is it break 170 or is it 170?
Well, we'll rely on Wes again.
Yeah,
we
where's
don't
the-
know if
what's
it's
the-
1.7 or 1.75. Or is
What
it
is it there?
170?
I don't know. I just always, it just kind of changed. You know, guys start talking class. You know, 150 class, 160
Yeah,
class,
I mean it's
170.
up there. It's either 170 or 175
So
to make that book. Some people don't know what Boone and Crockett is. It's a
pretty
scoring. It's a book that you have to meet that
criteria,
that number to be entered into that book.
and
So,
that and they deduct. You know,
and I've never entered one into books, never. And not that I'm against it, I just never have. I'm not real good at following through maybe with that stuff. If
intend to.
Yeah, I don't even know that I've ever intended to.
170. Wes says 170.
170. So back to him. So he barked right at it. I mean, he came right up to the shoreline of
that little hole right there. He's got in his horn right
yeah,
there.
they're so cool, ain't they?
Or antler.
Yeah.
Horn, but yeah, they are cool. And he's wide. He is.
Is he 22 inside?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
22.
He's easy. Yeah, he was a big dude. That's what gave him his score. Just his beam length was so big that.
Yeah, I mean, from this side, I'm trying to look at the camera view here, but
if I took him down and turned him towards the camera, you'd be like,
I wish I had a camera I could put my hand and do a circle roundabout.
You might be able to.
Well, yeah, we
can grab that one.
We totally dislodged the podcast tonight trying to walk with the camera, turn the table over.
I think you could do it. I think you could. I think we got enough rope. We got enough rope down there.
Yeah,
we got enough rope.
But he's
nice.
So you get him in the high 160s, so he would dry down some. Somebody smarter than us could probably tell us what
it would be,
what he dried down to. But
old Bernie.
Yep. Can you tell why his name's Bernie?
Yeah, because the gentleman that owned the land the gentleman. So there was a little bit of controversy on this deer, and I'll save all that. But sometimes when you kill
there always is.
Sometimes
every good deer I ever killed, it gets back to me that I killed him.
Somebody
wrong.
The land that somebody had been hunting on had got pictures of this deer, and it was a couple miles away. It wasn't nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's nothing.
It was like 2 miles.
Yeah,
and at the taxidermist, they were like, "Oh, that's my deer." And they had pictures, the broken tip, there was no doubt because he showed me. The taxidermist was a cool guy. He's like, "Hey, this guy was in here blowing."
Yeah.
Like they do. And yeah, it's my deer. And I was like, well, it wasn't.
No,
it was not. You had pictures of that deer, but I killed it.
Yeah, you had pictures of this deer.
Yeah.
It wasn't yours. It don't officially become somebody's.
No, it's the state of Illinois owns these deer. They take ownership of that. Yeah. Right or wrong, they do.
Yeah. So it becomes yours when you put your purchased tag
on the back of this deer. Is my tag is glued on the back
upon him.
Yeah, he is mine. Yeah, he's mine. I have a wonderful picture too. I wish I could. If I had time, I'd uploaded it. Yeah. When the night we got him, the smile, man.
Yeah,
you know how big I grin already.
Yeah, you showed it.
Yeah, it's a genuine
good picture.
Oh yeah, I'm like, that's a genuine smile.
Yeah,
that was. But yeah, old Bernie there.
So his name's based upon the landowner.
Yeah, the landowner.
And that's a good view of him right there.
That's good. You can see him. The landowner who originally where he was kind of holed up during the rut.
He's got a little sticker on both G2s.
Yeah, he does.
So I didn't even have much time to look him over. We went warp speed getting things set up.
I don't know where he's at, if he's going up or coming down or not. I don't know, but he's there now.
Roughly 22 inches wide, you said.
Oh, Bernie.
If Bernie could talk, he'd probably say, "Get your hands off me. I was enjoying life."
The last thing Bernie said was, as his lungs filled full of blood.
But, well, let's just dive off.
Yeah, let's tell you the story of Bernie.
Do this. Okay. I'll go.
Go ahead.
I'll go get.
Yeah, go get that. Go get that dead head.
I'll go get that. Well, you killed that deer, you said.
Yeah, I did kill a deer.
Yeah, it's a euro.
It's a euro. Okay. Yeah, okay, it's not a dead head. Yeah. But it is a dead head.
Well,
when I called
it a head off of a dead deer.
Yeah, when I called it a dead head, that's what threw you off. Yeah, it's a euro. It's one. It's actually one I did myself. I did pretty good on that. I did do pretty good on that.
I'll run grab it and we'll put it here on the table.
I've had a lot of practice cleaning this.
And if we
any questions?
If we get time, if we get to it, we'll talk about him too. But start off on this. Try to get back. I don't know if you're good at dates.
Pay for.
I don't know. I don't know if you're good at times and dates. I'm not very
Yeah,
good, but
I
you
mean-
can throw a time and a date, and I'll run get that euro of yours.
Yeah. You want me to just tell the story here? Man, I don't feel like I can do that without you. Well, I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here and I'll just look at the camera and smile. Yes. Anyway, well, Laythan goes and gets that there. I'm going to entertain you guys with a gun show. Here in beautiful downtown Fairfield, Illinois, live from Ultra Products. Yep, here he comes right here. Check this out. This is a nice one here. This is another good one. This is a White County dude right here. Check this out. Get that guy right there.
Nice buck.
Big time. Look at that. Right there, man. Look at that. That's good right there.
He is a good one. Oh, I'm moving the table.
We're good. Here he is. His camera views are
Well, do this. Talk about him real quick,
Okay.
but leave it short and sweet.
Yeah, I can do this one pretty short and sweet. This is actually a pretty cool deer here. This was a good story. Oh, man, let's just turn him on.
I seen your tag stuck in the,
he's still
the
in there.
skull hole.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, ain't no one taking that from me. That's mine. And so, he's wanting to rock back. What are we going to do here? We can.
Will you tell the story and let me hold him up
Yeah,
here?
okay.
Where's the best? I'll roll him around.
Oh, that's a good camera angle, right? Look at that. Check that out.
Man,
So
he's a picket fence on this
he
size.
is, I know, man. So look how he kicks out too. I rough scored him at 165. He is broken off here too, so he would have probably come out 167. He'd have been ish. I pushed Booner a couple times here.
You're knocking on Booner's
Oh,
door.
I am. Oh man, and
knocking.
I almost got one this year too. He was a big one.
All right, tell me about this.
So anyway, this is a White County deer,
archery buck.
Pretty early. I think he's still pretty dark here.
Yeah.
Pretty early on, my buddy they had already cut some corn or shelled some corn. If there's any farmers listening, they'd shelled some corn, and my buddy Luke was going to go till in some wheat. They'd went and broadcast in, and he was going to buzz some in. And I had this little pinch that come off a hill and dropped into the Little Wabash River. We had this little spot where the rock hit the water, and it was a high spot. But right before it, man, was this little pinch, little ditch that run in, and the deer they were in there. I had some camera pictures of him early on, a couple old mole trees that just like either got part of him or his rump or something, and I was like, oh, that's something, and anyway, really cool spot.
Go to camera one. Let's see what wide view as you're telling that.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's really good. Okay,
good,
that looks good. So anyway, real quick. So my buddy Luke, we're done harvesting. We get done early or something. I think we switched to beans and we hit some wet stuff. And we're like, we're done. Well, a lot of you guys don't know, but you will now. I carry a bow in my truck sometimes. And I'd carry my bow in a soft case in the back of my old Peterbilt there.
Yeah.
And when the time would be right, I could hunt. And so anyway,
that's what you got to do.
Oh yeah, you got to be flexible, man.
You get ready all the time.
Yeah, and so it was one of them evenings, man, where I was like, oh, things got still real early.
Yeah.
We got done, and I run into Luke, and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm getting ready to go. I'm going to buzz in this wheat, and I go, hey, I got an idea, because he was going to start on this far end. It's like 80 acres field, pretty good size, and he was going to end down by the woods. I said, hey, will you do me a favor? Would you go down there and unfold and start down there on the edge of that woods? And as you do, I said, drag your feet and let me come down through there, and I'll slip in behind you as you're down there getting ready. And I said, I'll get in the stand. And because we had seen a lot of these deer, they had been busting out on this one side. And I go, I know for sure if you're over in that corner, the chances of them coming down this draw are good.
Right.
He's going to go, this is the path of least resistance for me. I can get up, move down to the river, and get him a drink or whatever. And so anyway, Luke went down there and he unfolded and he started working his way around that. Anybody that's been out in the woods when them implements are getting drug around, man, they make a racket.
Yeah.
And they're banging and clanging, and I'm sitting there and I'm high, man. This stand, if you'd see, it was like a big pin oak. I had a 20-foot ladder section and probably 10 screw-in steps. Like when you see these big, huge, mature trees and you see that first big limb, that's where I like to go.
You're way up.
Yeah, that's where I like to go. And for one, they don't see you. Your scent's good. And I like those big trees because they conceal you. You can move around a little bit.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there not ready at all. It's still
Same
real,
down.
yeah. And I'm sitting there, and I just kind of out of the corner of my eye look down, and I'm like, I might even been like across my body or something. My bow was still hanging, and I was tethered in. Wear your safety harnesses, guys.
Wear them.
Wear them. That's no joke, guys. There's guys today that aren't here because they didn't. And so anyway, I'm turned around looking behind me. My tether's like wrapped around me or something. And I kind of turn around, and here he is. He is like right underneath me.
How close?
Oh, I mean, the angle shot, it was super steep. He was probably 15 yards.
Close.
Maybe. And most of that was height because I was so high.
Right.
I mean, he was right underneath me and facing me coming out. And he knew, I mean, he was scanning hard, and he was looking. And he never caught my wind, and he never crossed my path. But I remember being across my body, and I was like, oh, man. And he was such on high alert. It's like they know. Sometimes they just know. And I remember
you're saying he's on high alert because of the farmer,
just
the
implement, or maybe he had caught wind of me.
Just something. Something wasn't right.
Something wasn't right. He's picking up on it because I did not. There was a little trailer. Like what it was is a little road that crossed from field to field. And it was, it was one of them, and that's where I sat inside there. And there's just this little trail where the tractor would cross. And so anyway, I was able to go across my body and get my bow. And he was just like, I was watching him, out of the corner of my eye. You're trying not to, you're like watching your breath.
Yeah.
And I'm like watching him. And he finally relaxes a little bit, flips his tail, takes a little step, munches for a second, and then he picks his head back up again.
Some people don't realize that tail motion before they take a step is a good thing.
Yeah, that means they're relaxed and they're going to move.
That's body language. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to pop my tail.
Yeah, he had relaxed because anybody that's done enough hunting knows that some of these big deer, man, they will stand on the edge of a field forever.
Right.
And so when he relaxed, took a step, and then he popped back up. But by this time, I'd already got back across my body where I needed to, and I had my bow. I was already on, and he started looking back behind him. Luke had come back around to make another pass, and he looked back around his shoulder, and when he did, I drew my bow, and he was quartered to me very hard. But I knew, I mean, that's all I had was like his shoulder blade was into me. He was coming into me hard, and I was like, this is the only shot I got. There's no way. He's liable to just pop up and take off, and then I'll never be able to hit him if he's moving. And so I draw back. I just set that pin right in his armpit, maybe a little forward on the bone, and whatever. Guys are going to say what they're going to say about this, but I've took that shot multiple times, and it's worked for me. I've lost some. I have lost some deer because I've jumped them before, and I think I attribute that to me. But this one here, man, I killed him dead. And I put it right on his shoulder blade. And when that arrow hit him, he was so wound so tight that he spun away from it. And when he spun away from it, he took that arrow and he drove it right into his heart. And I didn't know that. He took off running. And of course, man, as soon as I hit him, it was like, whap, I seen him. It took the fletchings, it buried it, probably 4 inches from the fletchings. He took it with him. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I'm like, that's not good. But, and I instantly, because he was so big, I was starting to shake. I was like, oh, that just happened. He took the arrow. Well, I heard a big bust, and he just took off busting through there. It was so thick. And so I got down, walked up to my buddy Kyle. He was for the evening, went and got him and messed around till about dark. I gave him about 2 hours, because I'd lost a couple, and I was like, I'm not losing this one.
Yeah, you got to be patient.
I'm like, I'm not losing this one. But, and in my mind, I heard him busting. And what I heard him collapse. Like I knew my mind was like, oh, he's down. But then I was like, I'm not taking that chance. I'm not taking it.
If you don't see it.
Yeah. I couldn't. It was so thick. It was just a wall.
Don't assume, because I've assumed a couple times.
And lost some.
And it'll bite you.
Yeah. And so I go get Kyle. He was a super good guy, man. He was one of my best friends. Such a good guy, man. He let me hunt all his ground. And he was one of those guys like, he liked to hunt a little bit. He was more of a gun hunter, but he would support my habit, man. He would let me walk anywhere I wanted to walk. He was cool. He'd just drive right across the field, man. It didn't matter. It was like, let's just I'm over like, man, we can't run nothing over. He's like, oh, it's mine.
Yeah.
He just let's go get him.
That's
he was good friend, man. Real good friend. And so anyway, I take him in there. And I'm like, he's like, where'd you shoot him? Right here. And I find a little splatter of blood right where I hit him, and I could see where he peeled out. Of course I knew he took my arrow. I knew I had him. And so I'm walking through there, and it's like little spot of blood here, little spot of blood there. And I'm like, oh man, it's getting tough. I can still hoof him a little bit. And I mean, it's dark, like no moon, nothing, you know. And I think I probably had the worst flashlight that money could buy,
Yeah.
you know. I'm like struggling. And then finally, man, I turn the corner. I'm like, boom, there he is. He's laying there. And his blood had dried up, and I had just kind of started scanning the area, moving, zigzagging about 20 yards in from where I'd lost it. I'm talking like a speck of blood on the leaf, you know. And what it was is he never did pull the arrow. He still had the arrow in him when I found him, and he just didn't bleed. He bled internally. He filled himself completely up. I cut the very bottom of his heart off. You know, I punched him, which was crazy. The angle when he turned, it just drove it right in there, or the ribs did, or shoulder did, or whatever. But he's like, you got him, you know. And I remember zipping him up, and every ounce of blood he had in him just spilled out.
So did this deer come before that deer?
Yes.
So this deer you got before that one?
Yes, this one came. This was pre-Bernie.
Pre-Bernie.
This was.
Does he have a name?
Yeah, I'd call him Louie.
Louie.
I call him all Louie or Lewis or Lester. My cousin, he calls him Lester. They got to be big, or Lurch. Lurch is big. Yeah. If he's like, hey, I seen Lurch, you know.
But so he's got a general name, and
yeah.
Bernie's got a pretty personal name.
Bernie's pretty personal. Yeah.
So how many years after?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
So you doubled up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
2 years in a row.
Oh, I got hot
in the 160s.
Yeah, start figuring it out.
How many years ago do you know?
Oh, this one. Well, so this was 2016.
Oh, so not long.
No, and that's 2017.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was honestly one of my last big deer I got, and then I started getting super consumed with my job and just kind of changing some things.
Right.
I killed some deer here and there, but nothing, you know.
Yeah. I'm a few years out on a real good deer.
Oh man, I almost got one this year, guys. I did.
You killed a good one last year.
Well, I did kill a
That's
good
a nice
one.
buck.
I did kill. I wanted to bring him in, but he's still a little buggy.
Yeah.
He's getting all natural.
All natural. The bugs are cleaning him.
Oh yeah. I got. There's a Bradford pear tree in my backyard. I killed 2 decent bucks. Well, that one was pretty good. I'd say he probably went. He had a broken G2, and I'd say at a broken G2, he still probably went 150.
Yeah, that's a nice buck.
And he had big G2s on him too. I mean, they were big. They were every bit of 10 inches. And so,
right. Good buck. We'll move on to Bernie.
Yeah. So Bernie.
So you go right from 2016 into 2017.
Yeah.
And Bernie here, 22 inches wide, high 160s.
Oh, he's a nice one.
Look at that. Look at that. He's a good buck.
Oh,
You see that people that don't hunt and don't understand, and especially people that have seen good deer, man, when that's coming through the woods right there.
Oh, they're turning their head. They're rocking their heads back and forth. Because
When they're in
so
thick
wide.
spots, you'll see them dodge a tree limb or something with their head. And what that looks like is just,
I don't know how they do it.
I've always heard, everybody knows of ground shrinkage.
Yeah.
You shoot a deer. What that means, if you've never heard of it, you shoot a deer.
And you go, oh, I shouldn't have shot that deer.
And you get down and it's not as big as you thought it was.
Yeah.
But then there's like a phenomenon that happens when they cross over to a certain place.
Yeah.
That there's like, they actually, and I've only killed a couple, 2 or 3 this way.
They're bigger.
When you walk up to him, you're like, that deer's bigger than I thought he was, bigger than you thought he was.
And that's the way this one kind of was too.
Yeah. So Bernie, 2017, and he's not Sanders either, right?
No, it's not Bernie Sanders. No, that's not Bernie Sanders. Oh, Bernie.
Yeah.
Look at him there.
Yeah.
Beautiful animal.
Yeah.
He is. He's going to look good in my new house.
So is he a rut deer?
No,
let me ask, this is not a rut buck.
No, this is an early
season.
This is early season. This is pre-rut. This is, if I had to get, you couldn't hold me to it, but I'd say October 15th.
So getting close to coming out of that weird lull.
Well, and that's why he was holed up. That's probably why he was so.
Walking on eggshells.
Yeah, right down there in the daylight like that,
Hadn't smelled any estrogen.
No, he was he would just waiting
to a high level. Yeah.
Yeah. He'd been around long enough to know I'll just wait, boys.
Right. I call it their estrogen goggles they get on. I mean, when they get those on,
and it's tough then, man.
They don't,
it's liable to be anywhere.
That, and they're not as leery to come moving through.
No, I've had them.
They'll just stomp through the woods.
Oh, I've had them look at me. I've been out before, man, walking up and heard them busting up and look over and like, man, a big deer, like walk through and they kind of look at you and then they'll just skirt around you, and they're like, they're just like, I wish you'd get out of my way.
So how about Bernie?
Oh, so Bernie.
Is he a rut buck?
No, so he's a post. Well, yeah. See,
so he's you could call that. So he's not at the heart of the rut buck.
No, but I have my own theories on that stuff, man.
Well,
I do.
This isn't a show about theories.
No, it's not. So I'll just tell the story on Bernie. I'll stay where I'm at.
What's your theory?
Well, because
in 10 words.
In 10 words, these yearling does drive these big deer to their death late into the season.
In late season.
Late to the season.
Like,
yeah.
You mean trying to breed does?
Yeah, they're trying to breed these yearlings, man. I have seen, and people can call me a liar, I have seen bucks breed does in January. Yeah, I've seen
with my physical eyes. Watched it. So
I have the largest deer I've ever seen in my entire life was standing in someone's driveway while a parade of vehicles were driving back and forth by, and he was just standing there loving on her, man. He was just sitting there, just giving her little kisses. You know what I mean? And he could care less about the crowd that had gathered around him. And that little yearling was so small, she was just petrified of what the monster was standing behind her, you know. And
so that's a good theory. That happens. I believe it. I've seen it.
It's so good.
Those can come in way late. They get missed. They're either young and just coming in, whatever it is. So back to Bernie. Moving back to Bernie.
Back to Bernie. So Bernie's special because Bernie was one that came from behind my house.
Oh.
Yeah. So he came close. He was that's what was so cool about Bernie is like Bernie was one of those deer where I just jumped my fence and went hunting and had never seen him before in my life.
That was going to be my next question. You didn't know he was there?
Never knew he even existed, man. Had no clue.
No pictures of him?
Nothing. Yeah, he wasn't from my farm.
Yeah.
You know, he had just through the night had got on a hot yearling.
So he's post. How deep into the post?
He was early, probably the end of muzzleloader. December.
There's a lot of good things still happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's still pretty pumped up. Yeah. He had wandered late into the evening. Is what he did. He had wandered late and had found his way over up on Aublin Hill.
Oh,
yeah, over in Wabash County.
Dropping names now.
Wabash County. Yeah, David Brown. That's what he called it.
Yeah,
so that's Aublin Hill. Yeah, because I'm Eblin, Josh Eblin. So
Aublin and Eblin.
Yeah, he's just poking at me.
Right.
So where I live, I have a really good spot behind my house. I'm very fortunate. It's just what it is. It's just it's a terrain issue.
It's an evening hunt.
Yeah, this was an evening hunt. And so anyway, yeah, I remember slipping out behind my house, and that's the thing. Like he happened pretty quick. It wasn't like a crazy, like that one there was, honestly, that one there probably meant a little more to me because there was just more involved in it. My buddy was, two friends. I had one guy help me.
Yeah, some things happen quick, fast, and in a hurry, and it's like, whammo, it's over.
It was over, and then the emotion of it, going and getting him late. But anyway, I'll just tell the story of Bernie. And so, I slipped behind my house, walked down the edge there, slip up in the old tree, and it's pretty early. I'm probably in there like 4, or not 4, probably about 3, which is I feel is late. I always feel the way I hunt anytime, no matter when I get in there, I just always feel like
that can be semi late that time of year.
It can be.
It's getting dark at 4th, quarter to 5 or so. 5, right?
And normally,
or getting pretty dim.
The only reason I would do that is because if you'd see where I live, I had kind of patterned some of the deer that had been moving through there, and they would normally lay in this little hole in there about 30 minutes before dark. They'd get up and move. It's like clockwork. I'd been watching them. That's why I was like, all right, I'm going to go hunt that edge.
Right.
Because I know they're going to come out. They're going to come out either on one side or the other of me. They're going to sit there and they're going to pop out and they're going to work this edge and hit this honeysuckle. And then they're going to start cutting across the field.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, this was my plan. And this deer here, man, he came from a complete opposite direction than I was expecting. And he was just cruising up the edge like he had somewhere to go. And he was on a hard trot. I would just remember, I had probably been there, like I said, I got in there like at 3, probably just got relaxed. It's probably 4:00. Like I'm not even looking, I'm like, all right, the deer, they're going to be coming from this way here. And I just kind of, you know how it is. There's periods where you kind of sit there and do nothing. And then there's other periods where you get pretty diligent. You start looking. And it was one of them times where I had been looking and I turned around. I was like, oh man, you know, and it was thick. I was cutting through it. I had this little spot where I was about 10 yards inside the woods because it was a really narrow funnel, and I could catch these deer if they wanted to take the woods and run down to the edge of this point and pop out, or if they wanted to come out and hit that honeysuckle. I was kind of in this little Y spot, and I had to shoot 10 yards through the woods to hit the field, which, you know, I wasn't exactly on the edge, but I could hunt the edge and the field. So it was like the perfect storm is what I felt like. I was like, oh, that's any hunter knows there's sometimes there's this conflict. You're like, yeah, do I hunt the edge or do I go in the woods?
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, and so for me, I was like,
ideally, he loves like, I love to be able to shoot the whole woods and shoot the whole field. And sometimes you don't get both.
No, you got to just take what you can get sometimes. And so anyway, it was one of them deals. I just turned around and I caught through these little hickory saplings, this beast rolling, and he was moving, man. He was just, you know, pretty good gait coming up through there. He was going after something, you know. He was on what he had probably been running for the last 2 nights. Who knows, you know? Yeah, because he was pretty wore down. His body, he was pretty.
Yeah, by then they get pretty.
Yeah, he was pretty
ganned up.
Yeah, you could tell he had lacked a meal or two. He was pretty sleep deprived. He'd been out late.
He was on a calorie deficit.
Yeah, he had one thing on his mind. He had been on one for a day or two.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I seen him coming, and he, you know, I had 2 big windows that I had trimmed out, you know, and as he started approaching, man, he was at such a good gait. I'm like, I better try to stop him pretty early. I mean, I had enough time to think, you know, I could see him coming, and he started coming up on that opening, and I was like, woo, man, he just.
Is that how you stopped him?
Well, yeah, it's how I stopped him. Yeah, because he was moving so fast, I wasn't going to try the old.
You mean you didn't go, eh?
No, there wasn't a man. No, I didn't try that one. I was like, I needed to stop him. You know, I mean, he was moving.
I've stopped him with all kinds of sounds.
Oh, I've screamed at him, man. Oh, I got a good one this year. Hey,
Billy.
Whatever it takes, man. You know, and because when them big deer are focused,
when they're really quiet and the woods is quiet, I don't like the I don't. I've done it a couple times.
Spook them up.
And they turned inside out. I don't know if it's because they've heard it a bunch. I've done quite a few kisses at them.
Little
just
something
little
different.
Kiss.
Little chipmunk.
Now you're not going to get away with that when they're rutting and chasing, breaking brush and carrying on.
Yeah, that ain't going to stop him.
He's just sauntering through.
The slightest sound. Yeah. That's all it takes.
And it's like, you can tell they're like, was that a bird? Was that a squirrel? And they're stopped to listen. And that's just enough time to let it fly.
You better be drawn.
Oh, I'm drawn back. Yeah. Give him a little kissy.
Done got the old squint on. You know?
Yeah, we're drawing a bead. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
You know? And so anyway, yeah.
So you woo-weed at him.
I wooed him. Woo. Yeah. And he slid to a stop, man. And I mean, pump house.
Good broadside.
Oh yeah. Broadside shot, man. I mean, he was looking at me when I let it flip. He was looking right at me, and I mean, you could almost see the fear in his eyes. He was like, "Oh, this is it," you know. No, but I mean, if he could have talked, he would have been like, "No," because that was it.
Did you see him go down?
No, I did not see him go down, but I knew I hit him good because I watched him. I watched it. I mean, I seen it. It was another inside 20 shot.
Yeah,
and I pumped him, right behind the shoulder, just a little low, but I mean that's where you want it. And I sucked through both lungs. I watched him run up into the edge, almost kind of towards my house, blasting a little draw. And I heard everything quit. I
got quiet quick.
Yeah, it got quiet. I was like, he's dead.
Yeah,
I got him, man. He ran and
passed through.
Oh yeah, right through him. Blew right through him into the field. That's the old Z7 Magnum. Oh yeah,
I've seen that bow.
Oh, you have seen that bow.
I've touched.
That's what started this whole.
That is
what started all this.
Man, we should go find it and get it back and dip it in bronze and.
I hope it brings as much joy to the man who bought it.
Z7 Magnum.
Yeah, it's a horrible bow. It could kill him.
So.
It's a good bow.
So you Z7 Magnum.
Z7, and both of these are Z7s.
Nice. Then,
man, I'll tell you another bow I killed a bunch of deer with. Is the Matthews LX. That was for sure, I would say, at probably one of the best bows I've ever shot in my life. I've never tore more fletchings off arrows with anything other than that thing.
Really?
Oh, dude. I was deadly.
Well, the LX is early in the days of the solo cam Matthews, and it
It was solid.
It probably is one of the bows that contributed pushing them over the hill.
It was a solid bow.
I mean, several bows there that did that, but
that bow was
it was
good.
pretty early.
It didn't have a lot of reflex. It was extremely accurate.
LX is